Orks are a very popular faction in the Warhammer world, with their own style, vibe and humor. They are universal for both Warhammer 30k and the Horus Heresy. In this video I'm gonna show you how to paint the alternative Ork Warboss in Mega Armor. We'll go for a realistic Grimdark style with plenty of dirt and weathering. My name is Vito, welcome to my humble creative forge. As you can see, there are many parts on the desk. This model is high quality, very detailed and offers a bit of variety. You can choose a rocket launcher or a machine gun for the top deck. You can also arm the Warboss with an axe or a hammer, and decide if his right arm will be flesh or fully mechanical. Like any project, the model needs cleaning before painting. To keep everything solid, I used wire pins for the joints. I also used epoxy putty to fill any gaps for a better fit. All mold lines and gates were cleaned up with a hobby knife and a file. These are standard but essential steps. To be honest, I did miss a few defects and only noticed them during the final film. After cleaning the model, it's time for the base. The kit comes with the simple 60mm base and a rock. A great miniature like this deserves more. I swapped it out for a 3D printed base covered in skulls and bones. Using a compact Dremel, I trimmed a few spots so the Warboss stands naturally. I managed to carve out perfect slots for the rock and feet. Any small flaws will be hidden under a textured base later. This base has slots for magnets. By pure luck, I had the right size on hand. 5 magnets are more than enough to keep this miniature securely in place. As always, I start with the base. It's usually the easiest part, so it helps me build confidence and get into the flow. I typically paint bones in yellow or brown tones, but here I wanted a dark, grimy look, closer to reality and far from bright colors. I chose a warm gray as the base color for the bones. Make sure to cover all the deep spots to keep the scheme consistent. For shading, I used one of my favorites, Tamiya dark brown panel line accent. Combined with the grey base, it gives the bones a muddy dark tint. Using plenty of pigment here makes the overall look more realistic and green. Next up is a very careful dry brush. I focused on specific spots so the highlights and shadows pop correctly without making the palette too bright. You could stop here or add a light tint to the bones to soften the transitions and hide any harsh dry brush mark. Once the bones were done, it was time for the texture to add some real grit. This texture paste mimics dry ground. By adding different paints and effects, you can create a lot of variety. One neutral paste like this can replace a dozen others, making it budget-friendly and perfect for beginners alike. Of course, you can make a cheaper version yourself, though it takes more time. Apply the paste slowly into the gaps between the bones. The best part is that even if you get some on the bones, it's not a mistake, it just adds to the realism. To make the rock under the Ork's foot fit in, I turned it into a dirt mount, and that was the right call. Once dried, the paste looks very convincing. Still, I pushed the effect by highlighting small areas and adding shadows under the bumps and clods of dirt. A key step is defining the lines between different materials. On small models, details don't always create clear shadows, which can make everything look like a mess. Any dark brown shade will work for this. You don't need perfect precision here.
To finish the base, I need to complete the legs. I think yellow is the most classic and fitting color for mega armor. Until I started working on the armor, everything was easy, fast and predictable. But painting yellow over black primer turned out to be very difficult. To achieve a consistent color, I had to apply 3 layers. Since the armor is not flat and has many different recesses, this stage alone took more than 2 hours. It completely disrupted my painted schedule. My second mistake in a row was using too much dark brown shade. It hid some of the detail. I should have thinned it down first. Since I couldn't undo it, I kept going with that style to keep the result consistent. Looking back, it wasn't a total fail, I just got a different effect than I planned. To restore the detail, I dry brushed it with the base yellow. Then I used dark silver for a worn metal look, followed by a light touch of bright silver. And now it looks truly believable. Finally, I can combine the base and the legs into a single piece and finish all the additional effects. When used correctly, texture paste can bring your work to a new level of realism. I'm not talking about this specific paste, but about any paste that is properly mixed and painted. Usually I varnish a model only after I have fully finished painting, and I don't use intermediate layers of varnish. That's just my workflow. But in this case I had to protect the finished part of the miniature right away, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to create the wet mud effect. Of course I could have done it at the very end, but it would have been much harder because of the model's unusual size. Plus, the logic of the video required me to finish this part completely. The wet mud effect itself was achieved using satin varnish thinned with water. It's a very simple, highly effective and timeless method. Since we're talking about an orc, the skin is naturally green, but I'm following a realistic greedy color scheme, so the skin must match that. I'll avoid bright reds or yellows, using only dull desaturated tones. The work starts with the darkest green, then I move to lighter shades, covering the smaller and smaller areas. This little gunner and the warboss's head are about the same size, so I painted them at the same time. Thanks to their grotesqueness, they have a lot of relief, and their tiny size was not a problem. It turned out quite well, even though this part of the project scared me at the first. Now that this little fellow is ready, he can take his place behind the turret. Step by step, the whole image is coming together. The rest of the painting followed the same process I've already shown. To keep the video from being repetitive, I've made a quick montage of the footage to show the order of the work. At this stage, I'll stop torturing you with my lame English and useless comments. Honestly, I had to invent things to say just to describe obvious details you can already see on the screen, so the video wouldn't feel empty. But now I'm going silent. To be fair, I was struggling to release this video on time. Between editing, script writing, translating from my native language, polishing the text and recording dozens of takes, it was just too much. So, simply enjoy this free music from the YouTube library, if you can. wrap this video up, I'd like to do a quick size comparison of this Warboss with Horus on the Shrine Anchorite, which I painted earlier. As you can see, this orc is much larger than Horus, but it's still much smaller than the Walking Temple. The work started quite fast, but then I got stuck painting all those cracks, rivets, tiny parts and wires. It felt like an eternity. Still, it's 100% finished, the whole process took about 12 days. I'm very happy to have this model in my collection, and even happier then I won't have to paint it again. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, see you next time, take care. I really need a break from these miniatures.